here and be sworn in, just stand here.
Can you spell your name for the record?
I do. My name is Wiliam McDonald, W-I-L-L-I-A-M. McDonald, M-C-D-O-N-A-L-D.
Thank you. You do solemnly swear that testimony you're about to give.
Reporter here and have a seat to my left.
Would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Wiliam McDonald. I am a retired police officer with the city of Chandler.
What are you currently doing?
I am currently teaching criminal justice at Williams Field High School in Gilbert, Arizona.
So you told us you previously worked for the Chandler Police Department. How long were you with them?
I was with the Chandler Police Department for approximately 22 years. I'm sorry, 26 years.
Oh, that's a big difference. When did you retire?
I retired in November of 2022.
Okay. Can you tell us what your different jobs were at the Chandler Police Department?
As with all officers with the Chandler Police Department, I started off in patrol. I worked the patrol position for about 18 months, after which I switched over to more of a community services team. I spent 2 years with that team, after which I transferred to detectives and spent the remainder of my career in detectives, working primarily internet crimes against children and digital forensics.
Can you talk to us about specifically your training and education relating to extractions of cell phones?
When it comes to cell phones, I have extensive training in the use of the software that we use to extract that data. I am certified in the use of the Celebrite suite, which is one of the primary tools that we would use to extract data and organize data extracted from the cell phones. I was also trained, although they did not have a certification process, in several other platforms used with cell phones.
Did you ever go to any type of digital evidence examiner courses?
Absolutely. Beginning in 2001, when I began working digital forensics, I attended numerous courses on digital forensics, hundreds of hours worth of training, and I hold several certifications in digital forensics related to computers and, as previously discussed, cell phones.
So by 2019, what were your duties at that time at the Chandler Police Department?
By 2019, my primary duties were to conduct digital forensics examinations on computers and cell phones. I was also responsible for training new members to the computer crimes unit, in addition to assisting with internet crimes against children investigations.
In your role, were you regularly asked then to examine cell phones and try to extract data from them?
Yes, I was.
Can you talk us through, if you are handed a cell phone, what do you do?
Once we received the cell phone, and we would usually be given additional information at the time, usually from the case agent or the investigating detective, such as if there was a search warrant involved or anything like that. We would review the search warrant, make sure we had legal authority to do whatever it was they were asking us to do. We would then obtain the cell phone or whatever item we wanted to examine. My process was to start by taking pictures of the phone or the device prior to removing it from any evidence packaging. Once those pictures were taken, I would remove the cell phone from the packaging, take additional pictures to document condition of the device. Once the pictures were taken, I would attempt to power on the device to make sure that it had been placed in airplane mode, which would prevent any additional changes being made or outside people being able to access the device to make changes while it was in our possession. If it was in airplane mode, I would then attach it to whatever piece of software or hardware we were going to use to copy or extract the information from the phone. Once that process completed, which you would usually create just a single file, which for most of us would be meaningless. It was just a container file. And by a container file, I mean a file similar to, if you think like a box. The container file is the box. Initially, that box is empty, and we can put additional files inside of it. These container files would then be entered into, usually we would use the Celebrite software, as we did in this case. And that software would kind of go through the box and put everything in an organized manner, a manner in which people could read it and make sense of what that information was. We would then create a report, which we would provide to the case agents, and that would pretty much conclude our involvement. We would finalize everything by taking everything that we created, all of our files, all of our reports, notes, pictures, everything, and we would store them on an archive server at the Chandler Police Department.
All right, I'm going to go through a couple different words you said and have you explain them for us, all right?
Certainly.
So starting with first, extraction. What does that mean?
Simply put, extraction means we're copying the information on the phone to another device, say a thumb drive or another hard drive or something that we have prepared forensically, which means it contains no data.
So when we're talking about extraction from, say, a phone, you're talking about you're copying contact lists and text messages and photos and emails or search histories, anything that we have on our cell phone.
Correct.
Okay. Can extraction of a cell phone include GPS or locating data?
It can.
When you have extracted this, you talked about it not being in a format that people can understand. Can you talk to us just a little bit more about that?
So essentially these single files, when we have copied or extracted the information from the cell phone, it creates this single container file where all of the information is in there. That information is in the form of database files, other proprietary type files that without appropriate software or specific software to actually be able to read that information, it would be extremely difficult to piece it back together manually.
And so that's what you said, the Cellbrite software helps to put that in a way that we can read it?
That is correct.
So when you use the Cellbrite system, does that put the data together, like all of the text messages are now together and all of the emails are now together?
Yes, ma'am.
Rather than just being jumbled everywhere, basically.
Correct. It will put text lines together. It will extract date and time information. As you mentioned previously, it can extract GPS and location information. It will extract pictures, and it puts all of those together so that like items are together.
Are you responsible for reviewing or analyzing whatever it is that you extract?
No.
Are you solely responsible for trying to extract the data from a phone, ensuring that that process goes correctly and that it is then parsed into data that lay people can read?
Yes, ma'am. When we extract the data from phones or computers or whatever digital medium we're working with, we follow forensically sound procedures to ensure that that data is not changed at any point along the process.
And so you said you also keep the original data file that you extract in a server so that if anyone wants to look at that, they can do that again?
Correct.
And then the phone itself, does it alter the phone in any way when you do this process? Is it blank after that?
Our process should not change any of the information on the phone. However, with cell phones, because they do need to be on during this process, some system files can change.
Okay, so it could add more data to it potentially?
Potentially, yes.
All right, so on July 16th of 2019, did you receive a request from a detective in Clan to examine an Apple iPhone that was impounded as item CH131035? And if I can have my paralegal approach with Exhibit 245.
Thank you. Yes, this is consistent with the item I received.
Were you provided with a PIN to access that phone?
We were.
Okay, and what was the PIN you were provided to access that phone?
The PIN was 0000.
All right, pretty easy to remember. And if you can bring that back. What day did you begin the extraction process?
I believe, if I recall correctly, it was July 17th.
So the next day.
Yes, ma'am.
You told us that you first get the phone and you are both documenting it and sort of noting it. I'm going to show you, and if I can have my paralegal approach with Exhibits 180 through 185 that have been shown to defense counsel. Are you familiar with those photographs?
Yes, these are consistent with the types of photographs that I would take.
And those related to this review of this cell phone 245.
Yes.
State will move to admit 180 through 185.
Any objection?
No objection.
180 through 185 are admitted.
And if I can have the Elmo, thank you. Why do you take photos of the phone as you're processing it?
Primarily, we take photos of the phone to document condition. I will also take photographs of the item while it is still in the evidence packaging to document how it was packaged and if there are any evidence seals, what the condition of those seals are.
All right. So in this, when we talked about a item number, is that what we were talking about, the CH131035?
Correct.
Okay. That's Exhibit 180 and 181. What are we seeing here?
That is a photograph of the front screen of what appears to be an iPhone X, I believe, or XS Max.
So
I'm sorry.
you get this phone, and I put 182. It's turned off initially when you get it.
In this case, this particular phone was powered on when I received it.
Okay, but the screen was blank, but still it was powered on.
Correct.
Was it in airplane mode, and why does that matter?
Yes, it was in airplane mode, and you can see that from looking at the upper right-hand corner of the phone screen where it's got the little airplane icon. And this is important because while a phone is in airplane mode, it will prevent outside sources from connecting in and prevent the phone from connecting to the cellular network or to any wireless networks, which will help secure the data that's on the phone to prevent any changes or from anybody from the outside accessing the device.
Do you check when you get a phone like this to see if there's a SIM card in there?
I do.
What is a SIM card?
A SIM card is a subscriber, it's short for subscriber identity module, and it's basically a little card that's inside the phone that holds certain subscriber information. It can hold contact lists. It can actually hold a great deal of miscellaneous information. We always check for the SIM card as a means to make sure that this phone is actually able to connect to a cellular network.
Did you see one here?
I did.
And then do you also check to see if there's enough battery power?
Absolutely.
What do you do if there's not?
If we receive a phone that is either powered, has low power, or is actually the battery is completely dead, we will connect it to a power source to recharge the battery. The processes that we do required the phone to be able to be powered on, so we needed a charged battery.
All right, so in 183, you are able to get to where you would normally put in a passcode. Do you sometimes not have passcodes?
Absolutely.
Is it easier when you do?
Much easier.
So did you try the 000 here?
We did.
0, I think I left one out. Were you able to get into the phone?
We were.
184, why do you take a photo of that?
We're just documenting what is visible on the screens, what icons, what applications are installed on the phone.
So you're seeing that there have been phone calls that have been missed and mail that's
Correct.
going on. And then 185, what is the relevance of this? What does this tell us?
That is simply information on the phone itself. What you are looking at, if it were able to connect to a network, you would see the network information there. This is obviously a phone that was associated with the Verizon cellular network. The IMEI and the ICCID and MEID are identifiers for the cellular networks, the network, the carrier, and all of that.
Okay. And so that is able to be confirmed when you look at the phone itself, 245?
Correct.
Okay. So in this case, after you got this powered up, what'd you do and took those photographs, documenting what you're doing, what'd you do?
Once we had taken the photographs, we'd ensured everything, the phone was in airplane mode. In this particular case, I used a device called a gray key device. I attached the phone to this gray key device and configured it to conduct what is called a full file system extraction of the iPhone. A full file system extraction is pretty much the best copy that we can make. It copies all the data off the phone, including anything in deleted space, any user files, any system files. It pretty much copies everything that's on the phone for us to examine later.
Okay. Now, does technology continue to improve in our world?
All the time.
So you did this in 2019, right?
Correct.
So whatever the newer technology is not the same as what it may have been back then.
That would be fair to say, yes.
In terms of technology, have you seen changes in Gray Key and Celebrite over the years that you were using it?
I did.
And as each new version came out, did that ever cause you to find that data was wrongly recovered, or just that there was more data recovered?
In my experience, I never observed that changes in the software, updates to the software, would result in previously found data being changed or omitted or deleted or in anything like that. What we would find is it would change the format and how that information was presented. On occasion, as things really did change and bigger versions came out, sometimes it would have the capability to acquire additional information that maybe it could not acquire prior.
So maybe it was better at finding deleted items or parsing things together.
Correct.
Okay. Do you recall about how long that process took to use the Gray Key to extract that full file system?
As I recall, it was approximately 1 hour.
So after you use the Gray Key, is that where sort of everything's jumbled in a box?
Correct. That's the Gray Key created that single container file with everything from the phone inside of it.
So did you use something else at that point to allow detectives and other people to be able to access and look for specific things?
I did. Once we have that single container file, I took that file and I opened it up in a program called Celebrite Physical Analyzer. That physical analyzer software is what went through that container file and put everything in a more readable format for detectives or whoever else needed to view the contents of the phone.
So that then allowed detectives or others to go into this new report that allowed you to look at a section that had just photos or a section that just had emails.
Correct.
After you used that Celebrite to parse out all that data into these different sections, did you conduct any research on that phone? Or
I did not.
did you look through any of that Celebrite report?
I did not.
Did you analyze or review any of the data?
I did not.
Did you provide the detectives who then had been working on the case with that to review themselves?
What we would do, since the Celebrite Physical Analyzer software was very expensive and actually required a key in order to use, the Celebrite software allowed us to create what we referred to as a reader file, which is a file that they can open in a program called Celebrite Reader, happily enough, and that would allow them to review the data in a free software platform.
So as long as you had the reader, you could then go through all the data that the Celebrite had parsed into these readable formats or
Correct.
sections.
Anything that was included in when I imported the file or uploaded the file into the Physical Analyzer software, any information that was in the Physical Analyzer software was copied and included in the reader file.
Did that end your involvement with Exhibit 245, that phone?
I'm sorry, one more time?
Did that end your involvement with Exhibit 245, that iPhone?
Aside from making sure that any files that we created, any pictures that were taken were securely stored, it did.
All right, thank you. I have no other questions.
Cross?
Questions, Your Honor?
I'm sorry, did you say no questions?
No questions.
All right. Any questions from any member of the jury? I see at least one. Okay. The question is, if someone were to delete their browser history, can you still pull the history?
On occasion. Browser history and any internet data like that, especially on cell phones, over time, if it's been deleted, it can be overwritten. However, if it is more recent, and sometimes by recent, we are actually talking within the last year or so, that information, regardless of it being deleted, can be recovered by the software.
Follow-up from the defense based on that question?
No.
State?
No, Your Honor.
All right, sir, you can step down. Thank you.
Thank you.
State can call its next witness.
Thank you.